Hello, Elise here. I want to talk about Thoth, the god of wisdom, god of magic, god of writing, god of teaching. Essentially, he was from Atlantis back in ancient times. So he back with the ancient Egyptians. Right? So he's an ancient Egyptian god. And he was linked to Atlantis right when things were starting to go wrong there. And he brought with him the wisdom of the gods. And he served the people here. And it is said that if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be such amazing structures still there today. Right? So beyond just smart, beyond just the wise that we might understand, this is someone who lived and walked the earth many thousands of years ago, but left behind. It is said that he lived for 500 years just so he can continue teaching before he turned into a god and still continues to serve energetically, and by what is left behind as proof that there is something more. There must be something more, because we can't prove how even the pyramids were built back then. We can't prove it. And so it's like, it's ego smashing still that exists, right? So he is the god of androgyny. And he leaves behind, as I said, the 7 Hermetic principles that anyone can study. And it walks through different aspects of the journey back to the soul, which fascinates me, that there is just these 7 points to work off, and everybody's got their own interpretations. And this is the beauty of ancient Egyptian studies, I guess, or paths, so soul paths, is that it's up to the individual to directly apply the teachings, and therefore you will experience it differently to someone else. However, the universal laws still to this day stand true. It's just your explanation of them that will differ. So the first principle is the principle of mentalism. All right. So if you have a look, the way I experience it is that it's like meditation. There's no way in the world you're going to understand the final principle of gender, right? Everything has a masculine and feminine to it. There's no way you could possibly understand that and work your way through it unless you can silence the mind, right? So it's the basic principles. Everything is mentalism, right? So silencing the mind enough to be able to focus on one thing is huge. To know when something feels right and aligned, and from that place beyond ego that carries that energetic resonance, and to know that, to know that, and to learn and retain certain things and then apply. So it's a very masculine concept. And one that a lot of the people that I come across on the soul path starts with. It fascinates me to watch this. For me personally, I think I've worked backwards in a way because I've gone into the feminine. But there were parts that I was always drawn to doing meditation at the start. So that's not true. I was always drawn to doing meditation. So there you go. Meditation. First step, we can see it's how it's represented now. All right, not easily swayed. Able to focus and stay clear. If you could stay as clear as you can in the head, in the mind, then that sets you up for the second principle, the principle of correspondence. So this one is like when you first start opening the doors to the mysteries, to that which is beyond, right? So you even when you meditate, when you're in the silent surrender stage, you can have that gorgeous, like, it doesn't even feel like you're breathing sometimes. and there is no time, there is no space, you're in this beautiful nothingness, and it's amazing to be in. But the brain will need something to explain that, right? And so that's the principle of correspondence. So everything is essentially one. As above, so below. It's all within the experience of being human. So the water becomes the sky has water up in there, becomes the water on the earth. It's all a part of it. And it can explain, so everything corresponds with the other. So it kind of explains the paradoxes that you're going to face as you're stepping through the door of the unknown, of the spiritual path, of the soul, going back to your soul. And so the principle of number 3 is the principle of vibration. So everything has energy. Everything has energy, whether or not you deem it alive. Also, it highlights the fact that energy beyond the physical. There is something beyond the physical. And I think it's so clear this day and age that we lack that ability to go, right? There's a tree. Each tree has a different feel to it. Each tree has a different energy, but we miss that. We disconnect from that. And that, I guess that's how we're able to knock it down, for instance, or whatever. So you can see that there's something deeper there. Everything and everyone, I have a certain energy. Everyone around has a different energy. So it's in everything. So number 4, principle of polarity. So this one, it dives into merging two opposites together and putting them on the same continuum. So although you might perceive something as hot, something as cold, that's a perception, right? So there's varying degrees, and one person's opinion over something hot may not be another person's. So where's the universal truth? Universal truth in that, that all of it is part of one continuum, the opposites. And working with the polarities within yourself is huge, and that leads into so much. So each universal law that's mentioned in here explains the next as well, and this one helps to understand the principle of gender, which is number 7. So it's kind of like not something that you can just study 1, study 2. It's like a moving, constant, overlapping universal laws. They're just constantly flowing and moving. And that's the difference between holy laws and laws made by man that are very concrete and often get outdated. Right? This is timeless and it still applies today. It fascinates me. So the principle of polarity. So when two opposite energies are still on the same continuum, despite them appearing different or feeling different. And so that is a way for us to also stop separating things and start to come all as one, right? Start to come to that. So you can feel the understanding, the deeper connection to the unknown and to the mysteries through these universal laws. Although they are written and to be studied, it opens the mind, like from point 1, mentalism, to understand the deeper truths as it starts unraveling and weaving into one another, the way that life does. So this is like a life as well, as it flows through you, the deeper truths, the universal laws. Okay, so the principle of rhythm. That leads us to the rhythm. See what I mean? Like, it is, I didn't just make this shit up. It moves and flows and goes through. Who would have thought that universal laws could be so much fun? But it's so true. Like, the way they flow, the way it flows is just, these are very ancient principles. Anyway, so we'll go to the rhythm. So everything has its own rhythm. And often we don't, in this civilization, we don't honor the rhythms. We don't like seasons, for instance. What is focused on is mass production, is the ability to keep working through things. And what this is a very feminine principle that adheres to seasons, that adheres to the natural rhythm and flow of the individual, as well as what's around us, and to honor that though, and to hold that dear. So this also brings the lightness to the heart, because if you don't struggle as much, your heart is lighter, right? And the struggle, or the suffering, I should say suffer, not struggle, the suffering that happens, you have a heavy heart, and that's a choice to suffer. So as you know, going under the ancient Egyptian belief systems. So to honor the flow and the rhythm of ourselves, and to not push ourselves. Pushing ourselves doesn't honor the rhythm, and in fact, really, it dishonors it and disrespects it. When our whole body will scream no over something, and we think, oh, but I should say yes. And so you do something. That makes your heart heavy. You are dishonoring the God in you that's saying no. Or you say yes, or you say no when you wanted to say yes. Or you're dishonoring the truth in you, which is God, essentially, as well. You just feel into that. And so that leads into, of course, so we're going down from the rhythm, down to the cause and effect then. This is the sixth principle, cause and effect. So for every action, so we use that example again because it's just freaking flowing and amazing, and I love these ancient principles so much. So when you push yourself, then the effect is that you're going to be exhausted, and you're not going to be able to do what you're meant to be doing in this world because you're pushing yourself and you're exhausted. So there's a cause and there's a direct effect for it happening. And so, you know, a beautiful thing, and that's just one example, is to reflect on yourself and see if you're living in alignment, which is the highest vibration for you. And if not, to work a way of being more in alignment with your rhythm so that your cause and effect is also working. Yeah, can you see how these moving laws work? It's amazing. And then the seventh principle is my favorite one with this. Blows my mind every time I enter it, is principle of gender. So everything is both masculine and feminine. So with that, it's a very mystical approach to it, to living. And if you just look at the physical component, you're missing out on obviously the mystical component, which is the energy. So that what this God represents is that he's whole, he's powerful, and the reason he is he can both create, right? So he's a scribe. He can both create and he can produce things out in the world equally as potent as the other. And that's very rare to be able to trust and also embody all the other principles. So flow, you know, so the rhythm, he's in rhythm with the universe, he's in rhythm with nature, he's in rhythm with himself. That's how you can also be creative as well, being in rhythm and harmony. So that's feminine. but the masculine side is also to produce, to get it out there, to penetrate this out into the world, to provide a structure, an order, to bring language to a race that was otherwise, like just grunting at each other, to bring the ability to understand tools, to work with tools, and to understand angles and mathematics, and it's bringing more light, more wisdom, more knowledge to feel into, and then to really just get out into the world. That is something that he has provided and continues to. Like I said, with the pyramids and that, like we don't know how this has been built back then. Well, it's not by using our mere brains. It's an embodiment of energy. It's honoring that which is beyond us. It's honoring the flow of creativity. And then it's honoring creating and physically making something equally as the creation process. Creating and making is just as honored. Both are needed in order to create, in order to be balanced and be more pure way of living in complete alignment with the universe. And so it's a beautiful he's a beautiful God, beautiful energy to work with. I think that's all I want to say about the 7 principles. So you get the feel that he is a god of androgyny, bringing back the sacredness with that, which is beautiful. So like with anything, you can look at something in the physical and go, I'm representing that. I've got both masculine and feminine in me, so I'm going to represent that. And that's cool, look, on the physical. But when this is taken energetically, when this is applied and consciously worked through in everything that you do, it means that there is a deeper understanding of what it is that you do and how you do it. It is more consciousness, even if you run a business. It's like you can ask yourself, you can look at the 7 principles, or even the way you work, or the way that you love someone else. There's 7. You can look at them and go, how in flow am I? How in rhythm? How how in my head am I right now? Am I clear? All this, like there's so much to work with. So you've got, and that's the beauty of it too. And the very teaching of that is left behind, that Thoth is left behind, is the physical component. It's here, it's written, it's there, it's for you to reflect upon. But there's also this other aspect that says, you need to embody this. You got to live this. You got to open to this, right? Embody the energy that, or the, so with the words, there's a direct transmission of energy that flows through and into you. Can you embody that? Can you feel what's written also between the words, between the lines? Can you feel that? These are ancient words transcribed throughout the ages and still practiced to this day by many thousands. It is timeless, and that is a beautiful representation of Thoth, and how much we need this wisdom, this balanced, beautiful wisdom now more than ever. So I hope you enjoyed that little talk. I didn't expect it to go for 20 minutes, but I just adore the way that the universal laws, the 7 principles that the universal laws are obviously within, really do have a feel. They do have flow and depth. And obviously I just touched on the surface here, otherwise it would be like 2 hours long. But enough for you to feel into them and see whether or not you want to study them yourself. Yeah. Anyways, so I wish you well, and I'll see you soon. I love you.